Aside from Kingman and Buckner, the lineup was a rotating cast of supporting players whose lack of power matched their lack of speed. That's what Cub manager Herman Franks had to work with. A balding baseball lifer, Franks had spat, cussed, and chain-smoked his way through a half-century in the game and knew a fourth-place club when he managed one. "The man invented grumpiness," recalled John Schulian, a Sun-Times sports columnist. Herman Franks would sit in his office with his feet on his desk, eating chocolate donuts and smoking a cigar, ignoring questions. "In Herman's defense, he had an impossible job," said Hardig. "If they had a popularity contest in that clubhouse, nobody would win, but he was keeping them close to first place." "He kept them close for a month," Schulian said, "but they hadn't played most of the best teams. What was going to happen when the Phillies came in?" The 1979 Phillies, winners of 3 straight National League Eastern Division titles, were making their first trip of the season to Wrigley Field that May, and they had a slugger of their own in the cleanup slot. Third baseman Mike Schmidt was the only National League hitter with more home runs than Kingman, and his supporting cast was better. Flashbulbs popped when Schmidt and the Phillies filed off the team bus in front of their Michigan Avenue hotel. There was Pete Rose, the hard-charging former batting champ who'd left Cincinnati for a free agent contract that made him the best-paid player in the game at $800,000 a year. And Garry Maddox, who played center field so smoothly the fans called him the Secretary of Defense, and screwballing reliever Tug McGraw, who stuck out his tongue at fans who booed, and ace starter Steve Carlton, who stayed in shape with kung fu and refused to speak with reporters. With a league-leading $4.9 million payroll that nearly doubled the Cubs, Philadelphia was favored to win the division again. That added to the pressure on manager Danny Ozark, a tall, genial fellow with a gift for malaprop. Recalling an ovation on opening day, Ozark said, "It sent a twinkle up my spine." His mandate from the front office that year sent more of a chill. Win or else. The Cubs had won the opening game of the series 7-1 on Tuesday, May 15th, but on Wednesday afternoon, Steve Carlton put the Cubs in their place with a 3-hit shutout. The Phils' 13-0 victory put them 3.5 games ahead of the second-place Montreal Expos, with Chicago another 2.5 back. That game was played in front of 18,000 fans and an equal number of empty seats. Not bad for a Wednesday game, according to Hardig. "The neighborhood was a little seedy," he recalled. "The Cubs might draw 10,000 or less on a weekday, and in those days it was attendance and concessions paying the bills." Like so much else about baseball in 1979, that was about to change. During the '79 season, for the first time, Chicago's WGN-TV uplinked its programming to the Satcom 3 satellite and beamed Cubs telecasts to cable TV households around the country. WGN wasn't the first so-called superstation. That was Atlanta's WTBS, which got its start when deckhands ran a cable to Ted Turner's yacht so the Braves owner could watch his team's games. Thanks to cable, the Braves and Cubs were on their way to becoming national brands. Cable TV rescued Major League Baseball. At the end of a decade that saw football surpass baseball as the de facto national pastime, WTBS and WGN made baseball a habit for millions of viewers who never bought a ticket. Another cable network, ESPN, built on the site of a former trash dump in Connecticut, also debuted in 1979. ABC's Monday Night Football was already a pop culture phenomenon, one of the top primetime shows, while the major leagues had nothing but NBC's Game of the Week on Saturday afternoons. In the next decade, cable would pour millions of dollars into baseball owners' pockets, remaking the sport. There were 850,000 cable households in 1979. 10 years later, there would be 53 million. TV money was one of the 3 main factors driving the sport's transformation. The others were muscles and metrics. Ball players of the 70s were skinny. Dave Kingman stood 6'6" and weighed 210 pounds, roughly a pound of it.